Do you remember when movies like The Lord of the Rings, Pirates of the Caribbean, Star Wars were so good that you not only got lost in the experience of watching them, but after they were over, you felt like you had been changed forever? There was a time not so long ago when films had the power to actually change a viewer, and this is what I call the wonder effect. And we used to have it, but we've since lost it. And the question is, can film and television ever get that wonder back? But in order to answer that question, it's probably worth slowing down and looking at the word wonder itself. What is wonder, I wonder? If you Google it, wonder is an emotion or state of mind characterized by a mix of surprise, curiosity, and admiration, typically triggered by something extraordinary, unfamiliar, or beyond one's ordinary experience. And I'll just pick on one film, but I would say that that definition perfectly encapsulates what it was like to watch The Lord of the Rings for the first time. But not just that film, Pirates of the Caribbean, Star Wars, The Hunger Games, and early seasons of Game of Thrones. All of these films encapsulate the golden era of sci-fi, fantasy, and adventure, and all of them were life-changing experiences, and all of them inspired wonder in everyone who watched them. But since then, something odd has been happening to our favorite genres in film and television, specifically in the fantasy, sci-fi, and adventure space. Because if you're someone who cares deeply about these genres, then you've probably noticed that films and series in this genre are getting noticeably worse. They no longer surprise us, they don't pique our curiosity, they don't feel like extraordinary experiences, and they don't evoke a sense of wonder. But why? How does this even happen? These films did so well 20 years ago. We're talking about the classics. And shouldn't these films and franchises get better with time? A lot of these shows have bigger budgets than ever. They have solid fan bases that already exist. And technology for film and TV is more advanced than it's ever been. But when we compare the classics that started it all with what's being produced today, there's a noticeable difference. The wonder has absolutely been lost. So the question is, how did we even get here? And is there any hope for things getting better again? Can we ever go back and recapture what we experienced in the golden age of sci-fi, fantasy, and adventure films? So I think in order to understand how things got here and where they are going, we need to look at what I call the 4 pillars of wonder. The first is world building and restraint. The second is spectacle and storytelling. The third pillar is sincerity. And the fourth pillar is morality and messaging. Each of these 4 pillars has to be addressed in order for a story to evoke a sense of wonder. Otherwise, we wind up with media that feels flat, soulless, and just a commoditized counterfeit of what we're looking for as fans of fantasy, sci-fi, and adventure. So let's break down these pillars and see where Hollywood has gone so wrong with their storytelling within this genre, and where the glimmer of hope lies for these genres, because there are some real signs that we might be heading back into a second golden age for these genres, particularly the genre of fantasy. So let's look at that first pillar, world building and restraint. In films and movies, wonder depends on deep, thoughtful, and complete world building, and this world building must be followed by restraint. Let me explain. Modern storytelling increasingly struggles with this idea. You see, in order for a world to feel real and immersive, it has to be built out in its entirety from the beginning. You can't really build a world up as you go. You have to fully flesh out and secure your foundation before you get to the framing, drywall, and finishing work, or the whole thing is just going to feel weird, and you will never be able to go back and fix what you should have done right from the very beginning. And I think we all know that the great granddaddy of world building was J.R.R. Tolkien. Tolkien built out an entire continent of lands, regions, history, and lore that he then wrote his stories on, which Peter Jackson was able to adapt to film. And the thing about the world building in the Middle-earth universe is that it was all encompassing and complete. Every corner of Middle-earth exists on a map, and within that map and its borders are older borders and histories that go back in time, creating lore and history within the setting that The Lord of the Rings takes place in. George R.R. Martin's Westeros does this really well too. It's a complete continent with histories, family trees, borders, and great houses who have risen to power and fallen into ruin, and this landscape of this world he's built and its history serves as the foundation for the Game of Thrones story and its characters. But here's the catch to creating wonder while world building. When you build out an entire world and history, you have to use restraint and only include select elements from all the foundational world building work that you did, because this is what makes a world feel real and ancient. You have to have real history and lore that goes deeper and broader than what audiences ever get to experience on the page or big screen. And an example of this is the Weathertop scene in The Lord of the Rings. So Weathertop is also known as the Watchtower of Amun-Su. And while watching the films, we only know this because of a single line.
This was the great watchtower of Amun-Su. We shall rest here tonight.
Now, Peter Jackson exercised restraint in The Lord of the Rings by not explaining anything beyond that. He could have, because Weathertop has a crazy history, and there's multiple YouTube videos that are 10, 20, 30 minutes long explaining Weathertop's history. And that's all thanks to Granddaddy Tolkien's world building. And whether you're writing a book or making a film, it's a step that you can't skip. But lots of modern films and shows do, which is too bad because this is the foundation of wonder in fantasy, sci-fi, and adventure films. The Weathertop scene in The Lord of the Rings is a perfect example, because instead of camping at a random hilltop, Strider and the hobbits stay in a place we know has ancient history that we'll never fully understand while watching these films. But it's implied for all of us viewers that the history is there. And if we want to go digging for it, we can find it. We get the same effect when we see the ruins of Harrenhal in Game of Thrones. We're getting more than just a random set piece that serves as a backdrop for our characters and the story that they occupy, which gives us a sense that we're experiencing a story within a world that's much older and deeper than what we were watching in any given scene. So when the world is built in full from the beginning, and restraint is used in revealing that world in little slivers, we lay the foundation of wonder that modern stories are struggling to tap into. And it's because modern stories haven't laid that foundation. Now, as a side note, if you love the sense of wonder that comes from sci-fi, fantasy, and adventure films and TV shows, go ahead and leave a comment below on what your favorite film in these genres is, because maybe there are some hidden gems that the rest of us would really enjoy but haven't seen yet. We can get a really cool list going here in the comments. And maybe you don't have anything in mind right now, but one will pop in your head as you continue the video. So let's move on to pillar of wonder number 2, spectacle and storytelling. This may be the single biggest difference between older stories and much of what exists today. Because to create a sense of wonder, spectacle needs to function like a reward.
What's it about? It's like a reward.
So modern cinema seems to have forgotten this concept. Scenes that inspire emotion or a sense of awe need to be built up to. The longer the build-up, the greater the payoff. In the golden age of fantasy and adventure, it was well understood that long stretches of quiet, travel, or tension and atmosphere allowed cinematic moments to feel overwhelming when they finally arrived.
There's no more stars. Is it time?
Yes.
It's so quiet.
It's the deep breath before the plunge.
The battle for Minas Tirith in The Lord of the Rings works not because of how epic it is visually, but rather because of how long it took the audience and the characters to build up to that moment. And this is important for 2 reasons. The build up to key moments helps an audience understand the stakes that are present when those key moments unfold. And the second reason is building towards big scenes with high emotional stakes allows time for audiences to fall in love with the key characters who are present within these scenes and moments. If an audience doesn't have time to attach to and become invested in key characters, then the audience doesn't get to feel tension or concern over what happens to that character when cinematic scenes take place. Without character development, there is no spectacle or payoff, no matter how visually stunning or incredible a scene or battle or moment winds up being. Another great example of this comes from Game of Thrones. We understand the stakes involved for Daenerys Targaryen as she has struggled to gain support for her cause for 5 seasons. She's been introducing herself as the mother of dragons this whole time, but her dragons don't do anything for her cause except maybe make her a bigger target to people who are more powerful and pose threats to her. So we know her well, and we know how long she's struggled to be taken seriously as a ruler, and we understand this because the story unfolds slowly for 5 seasons. And by this time, we're used to being worried for Daenerys because she's always in trouble and never really seems to have enough power under her belt to resolve the threats that are posed to her. And all of this has been shown to us in a world that feels deep and ancient, calling back to pillar number 1. And like I said, we've had 5 seasons to develop a relationship with this character. We understand what these dragons and their potential mean to her. So when you watch Game of Thrones and spend most of the series in a state of slow build, it creates real context that makes scenes like this actually feel emotionally powerful and heavy, inspiring, or whatever you felt when you watched this. You know that the scene that you're about to see is one of the greatest moments in cinema and TV history. Let's roll.
Vla.
Getting scenes like this to work is a lost art. It takes time and planning, and it's planning that showrunners and directors often aren't given time for or choose not to put time towards. So we wind up with a formula that doesn't work. Modern media often begins at maximum intensity and never stops accelerating. Every scene attempts to outdo the last. Entire cities collapse before audiences have even learned the names of the characters that they're watching. And this is one of the biggest issues that has plagued the Marvel universe, in my opinion. It's the reason that we have superhero fatigue. And I personally don't think that it's that people are sick of superheroes. If you just look at the series The Boys, that's a superhero story, and people are really invested in it. When it comes to genres like fantasy, sci-fi, adventure, or even superheroes, they're timeless. People don't get sick of those genres. They just get sick of having everything dialed to 100 nonstop for 2 hours without any breaks and without any buildup. The result is visual exhaustion because spectacle without buildup just becomes noise, and noise isn't the point. The real point of wonder within fantasy and adventure brings us to pillar number 3, sincerity. Wonder in films requires a certain level of sincerity and emotion that modern storytelling seems uncomfortable with. And I'm not sure why this is, but it's definitely a thing. See, the classics treated key character traits as sacred. Heroism, sacrifice, friendship, courage, hope, honor, all treated with a sort of reverence. And that might sound borderline corny, but it kind of has to be within these genres in order for them to work. We see this sacred reverence for relationships between Luke Skywalker and Ben Kenobi, and then later Luke with Yoda. We also see it between Ben Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn in Episode 1. Because in these films, Star Wars connects us to what it means to be a student and a teacher. And this same theme is apparent between the relationship between Sam and Frodo as friends. We also get to experience sincere love that's expressed between Aragorn and Arwen as lovers. And when it comes to all these different types of relationships, we don't ever see any irreverence directed towards these characters from each other or the show writers. And while it's true that these examples aren't an accurate reflection of real life when it comes to student-teacher or friendship or lover-based relationships and how mentors, friends, and couples behave with each other, it is how we wish those relationships and roles felt in real life. And that's what creates a sense of wonder. Because remember what wonder is: something extraordinary, unfamiliar, and beyond one's ordinary experience. I wonder what my life would look like if I had a wise mentor like Yoda. I wonder what having a friend as loyal and dedicated as Samwise would be like. Or I wonder what it would feel like to truly be loved with the commitment that Aragorn and Arwen have for each other. The best films of all time allow emotional moments to exist without apology, but for whatever reason, modern writing frequently interrupts what could be dramatically impactful moments with irony, sarcasm, or comedic relief, as though the writers are embarrassed or afraid to commit what they've put down on the page. It's like they don't want to take their films too seriously and actually drive home the point of what they've written in the first place.
You and your friends are doomed. We will wipe your filth from the galaxy.
Okay, I'll hold.
Hello?
Hello? Yep, I'm still here.
Can he hear me?
Hugs?
He can.
With an H? Skinny guy? Kind of pasty?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Look, I can't hold forever. If you reach him, tell him Leia has an urgent message for him.
I believe he's tooling with you, sir.
About his mother.
And I think that this might be a symptom of the fact that all of the films that try to take themselves seriously will inevitably wind up on Saturday Night Live or become the fodder for social media commentary and comedy sketches. And that's actually fine, because to make fun of things is why people watch Saturday Night Live. And conversely, the reason people watch films in the sci-fi, adventure, and fantasy space is to experience wonder. So in their attempt to not take their work too seriously, writers who fail to show reverence to their characters and the stories they are telling fail to deliver on the very thing that their audiences crave. If you like this video, you'll love Nightweave. It's my family's small business, and we design and sell the world's most comfortable and functional cloaks. From our sun cloaks that block 99% of UVA and UVB rays with a UPF rating of 50+, to our Comfort Ranger cloaks, the most comfortable cloak we sell and the most comfortable thing you'll ever wear. We also carry most styles in a waterproof version, and everything we make is designed right here in the USA and responsibly manufactured and imported. So wherever your journey leads, we have something for you. Use Nightloot at checkout to save. Now back to the video. Now, the thing about wonder is that it can't really survive cynicism. To experience awe, an audience has to allow itself to believe in something larger than itself. And that requires vulnerability both from the audience that's suspending their sense of disbelief and the writers who wrote something that feels out of the ordinary, that's being presented as though it is real. Because if a film isn't deeply sincere, it's impossible to convey any real courage, goodness, or sacrifice. And the creators behind the classics understood this. Star Wars Episodes 1 through 6, The Lord of the Rings, and Pirates of the Caribbean, The Purse of the Black Pearl took audiences into new worlds that they had built, and it felt like viewers were allowed to linger in these worlds with real characters who were experiencing truly heavy realities and threats. It allowed audiences to absorb the atmosphere and setting where they were being taught lessons about love and life and friendship, loyalty, good versus evil. And these themes were treated as serious, both for characters in the film and audiences who watched. And unfortunately for viewers today, most narratives are designed around constant engagement and retention. And so scenes are not only shorter with faster dialogue, but we get these films and shows that waffle back and forth between serious and goofy, and it makes it so that we're really not sure what mood to settle into while we're watching. Exposition feels rushed, and audiences are rarely given time to sit inside a world long enough to emotionally inhabit it. Which brings us to pillar number 4, morality and messaging. So every genre in entertainment has a purpose. Horror is designed to terrify and disgust us, hopefully in a fun way. Romance reminds us what fresh love feels like. Comedy makes us laugh. And when it comes to sci-fi, adventure, and fantasy, the purpose at the core of these storytelling genres is to remind us that, as a wise philosopher once said, there's still some good in this world, and it's worth fighting for. Part of the wonder of fantasy, sci-fi, and adventure in the golden era of these genres came from the implied promise of what you'd get out of the hours that you would spend in the theater after you spent your money to see a film. Every viewer knew that they'd be able to escape to an ancient world with deep history. You expected that during the time that you were getting to know the characters you were watching, that you'd fall in love with them, and if all went well, you'd experience a story profound enough that you would leave the experience somehow changed as a person. You'd learn something about what it is to be faithful, what it means to be a good friend, what it means to choose light over darkness, and how to show humility when you wield great power. And yet, despite all of this, and the fact that it feels like we haven't experienced these kinds of movies in an eternity, there are some signs that these types of content and films and TV shows are returning. Recent films like Dune demonstrate that audiences still want to experience wonder, and there are some teams still capable of delivering on that desire. The success of Dune is that it unfolded slowly. Its universe was treated as ancient and sacred, and it took itself seriously. Then there's the fact that author Brandon Sanderson just landed a deal with Apple TV in which he's retained full approval power over the adaptations of his work as they're translated from his pages to the big screen, which signals that studios are realizing that the secret sauce of billion-dollar brands in sci-fi, fantasy, and adventure lies in these four pillars of wonder and the people who understand them. And I think that the resurgence in these films makes sense because modern audiences are exhausted, not by fantasy, adventure, or sci-fi as genres, but by the noise that's been created by writers and showrunners who don't have any idea what they are doing in this space. And that's actually a good sign because we need more wonder in film and TV today, arguably, than we ever have before. Because these genres remind us that there's still good in the world, that good is worth fighting for, and it helps us recognize what good is in a world full of evil. These genres and the wonder that they provide remind us that we can still be surprised and that we can still experience things that truly feel extraordinary, both on screen and off. So, like I said, leave us a comment below and let us know what your favorite films within these genres are that express a true sense of wonder for you. And maybe the rest of us can find some hidden gems in there. If you like sci-fi, fantasy, and nerdy content like this, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It was awesome spending a couple minutes with you, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.